And normally I don't start with pranayama. Normally we finish with pranayama, but today we're going to do a little bit of settling in, a little bit of breathing, just prepare us for our practice and maybe to offer a little bit of cleansing here and quieting of the mind before we begin our practice. So come to whatever seat is comfortable for you. And give yourself some wiggling. So no need to necessarily be in this sort of stable, strong position. We're really seated in a way that brings some ease into the body. And if seated doesn't bring ease into the body, feel free to rest laying on your back. And if you will, just take that nice, deep, long inhale and exhale into the weight of the body, letting it go out through the mouth. We'll do that 2 more times. A breath in. And that exhale out through the mouth to settle into our seat or into where we're connected to the mat. So our pranayama today is in of itself its own grounding experience. And we're going to tune into one particular sensation of breath, which is rhythm. So as you are seated here, eyes open or closed, just letting your breath come normally, naturally to the body and observing how many beats it takes you to breathe in. And we'll do that for 3 or 4 breaths. Once you've observed that number of breaths to breathe in, I'd like you to see if you can extend your breath by 1 beat or 2. We inspire relaxation response when we extend the exhale. There's a whole lot of things going on in the body that help us do that. So we're just going to signal that whole system that we would like to bring a little rest and ease into the body before we begin our practice. So breathing in, and for instance, if it takes me 4 beats to breathe in, I'm trying to exhale for 5 or 6 beats. Let's do that for 10 breaths. That's typically for most of us about 1.5 minutes. Let's do one more round to finish off. And just pausing to notice what's present for you. What's present maybe in the physical body, in the thinking mind, in the feeling or emotional body. And pausing to notice with compassion, knowing that there's no place we need to be, nothing we need to create. Allowing ourselves to be with what is in this moment. And as we're considering what's present for us, how we might stay grounded and centered during these times, just a short reminder that all of these things I toss out to you may or may not resonate. If they don't, it's finding other things that do. And I remember having a conversation here with one of you who was on, like, it's really hard to sit and be still and breathe, especially when you're feeling maybe either elevated or affected by things going on around you. So maybe a walk is recommended. We're getting ready to do a physical practice to burn up some adrenaline, to release some of that energy and get it flowing through the body. So if this one thing that we just tried doesn't work for you or doesn't resonate for you in this moment, there are lots of other things. I'm always available for emails and conversations if you need ideas. Okay, we are going to warm up while we're seated. So if crisscross is possible for you, I'm going to ask you to take your right leg on the outside of crisscross. If crisscross isn't necessarily a space that works for you, send your feet out so they're relaxed. So knees might drop out, soles of the feet might be on. So we want to be able to move the torso and the shoulders through this, but be a little more comfortable through that hip structure. So coming with our right leg on the outside, that'll be important here in just a moment. We're going to start some small or large shoulder rolls. As we know, often we hold our tension in our shoulders, especially if we feel like our voice isn't being heard or we're not quite sure how to use our voice. We may be holding on to energy in that area. Shoulder rolls, great way to work a little bit out of that muscle and maybe a little energetically out of that area or into the area. So it might need both. Go ahead, reverse those shoulder circles. And again, if shoulder circles bother your shoulders, you're getting a lot of feedback and maybe even noise, just think of shrugs, drawing up and gently letting them melt down. We'll do 2 or 3 more in this direction. And then letting those shoulders melt away, we're going to start to sway in our ships. And I'm not sure if this is, translating across the screen, but I'm moving side to side. So I'm going right and left. And I might let my head follow along if it doesn't make me dizzy. I might use my hands if that feels more grounding and stabilizing. Just a sense of stretching through that lateral side body. And then we're going to begin to make some circles. And I'm going to place my hands right on my knees. You can leave your hands free, moving again through that circle with head, shoulders, torso in a way that makes sense for you. If I move my head too much, it tends to make me a little bit dizzy, so mine stays more still, but yours might be moving a whole lot more. Let's reverse that torso circle. Also getting some information about back this morning. How is that back feeling? How do we want to take our practice either deeper or one step back to adjust to what that area is telling us this morning? Let's do one more torso circle. We're going to come up, and then I'm going to ask you just to give a twist towards your left knee. And when you're ready, we start to lean towards that area. And that lean might look more just like a gentle folding forward, a large folding forward, or not a lot of movement. And for those of you who have those legs out, it's the same idea. You're going to be a little less range of motion just based on where those legs might be. Stretching that low back. If we can, we let the head relax in a way that doesn't challenge the neck, that stretches the neck. A good stretch for not only this low back area, but also sometimes your bun cheek. We'll rise back up and switch the cross of our legs, or simply leave legs out in front of us. So now left leg comes out in front. We're going to work those arms just a little bit more. Sending arms out, palms face forward. I'm going to squeeze my shoulder blades and really thinking about this opening. Now, my inclination is then to really arch forward, but I'm going to try to keep my belly engaged just squeezing shoulder blades to open that chest and heart area, and then drawing hands towards each other, letting fingers touch, nodding chin, and pressing then the back space of my heart to the space behind me. We'll inhale, open, squeeze shoulder blades. Exhale, round to draw fingertips together. Now we can start to get that back involved. If you like, think cat-cow. Inhale, arching the back if the back agrees. Exhale, rounding and pressing low back. Inhale, opening. Maybe we even gaze towards the ceiling. Exhale, rounding. Now, if all of this is very challenging in your seat, you're welcome to go right into a cat-cow where you're on hands and knees, doing the same thing we are with our spine, rounding and arching without all that compression in the front of those thighs. Let's do just a couple more of these, creating some space for breath. And again, maybe moving some space through this heart chakra, this energetic area that helps us connect to each other with compassion. We'll come on up, letting your hands gently rest. We're going to lean into that right hand, leaving left hip connected. So bending through the elbow, let your gaze go down to your hand, and you might start to gently shake your head no, if the neck allows. So we're finding length through that left side body, a little release for that neck as well. We'll rise back up, lean into that opposite hand, left hand. Right hand, pardon me, rests. And maybe we give that head a gentle shake no. One more time. We'll rise up. We're going to twist to the right knee and lean into that right leg as is appropriate for the messages you're getting from your body. Fully breathing here. When you're ready, let's rise up. We're going to shift to hands and knees. You can cross those ankles and roll, or you can swing those feet around, opening up the hips just a little bit before we go into our standing poses. So once you're here, placing palms on or fists, that is up to you. We're going to take that right foot, it comes forward. We might stay in a low lunge. So a couple of choices here. If you're in a low lunge, this back knee is going to walk way back, so you go a little bit lower. If you would like to get a little different kind of stretch to the front of that thigh, you can rise up, hands on top of the thigh, and tuck the tailbone. So picking which one makes sense for the front of that left thigh this morning. Where do you feel the sense that you're opening that space in the best way for your body this morning? So either place. There may even be a few of you who lift that back knee. That might feel like the deepest expression of the pose for you this morning. Let's just do one more breath here. And then we'll all take a little shift. So I'm going to begin to straighten my front leg. Straight leg, not as important as feeling sensation of stretch through that back leg, or sorry, that front leg. We'll pull toes up if you can get the leg straight. A few of you may land all the way back and fold forward. So just fully breathing here. Noticing sensation. That's another way we can quiet this thinking mind. Been studying with Rick Hanson, who talks about taking refuge. Where do you find refuge? Where is the place where you can find a peaceful mind, a moment to step away from maybe a lot of all that's happening around us and you? Bend into that front knee. Let's take that knee back and give your tail a little bit of shake. We're going to switch it out. So left foot comes forward again. Choices. We might walk that back knee back so we're in that low, deep lunge. We might keep the knee in a little bit closer and rise up, tucking tailbone to experience that. Noticing sensation, tuning in. We practice this a lot in our yin class, where we're tuning into the body. The thinking mind and feeling mind or physical sensation mind can't be operating at the same time. So if you are looking for a little bit of peace, practice those skills of tuning in with curiosity into sensation in the body. We're going to shift and straighten that front leg or find what is straight for you, which might be a really bent knee. And again, a few of you might end up with your tail all the way back towards your heel. If your leg is straight, you might flex that foot. One more breath here. Let's go ahead, send that knee back to join the other, coming into your version of child's pose for 5 breaths. Letting the head rest. There may be some of us who are on elbows and knees, looking through those knees. A restorative space to be for the physical body and energetic body. Knowing that throughout our practice today, you can always return here if you're needing a little break, if you're needing to catch your breath, or if it just feels good and you don't want to do what we're doing, that's okay too. When you're ready, we'll rise up to elbows. If you can, keeping palms on rather than clasping hands, tucking toes, we're going to press into our dolphin. Now, if this is really challenging for shoulders for all kinds of reasons, stay on the knees, but shift weight back towards your heels. So pausing here, 5 breaths in dolphin, warming up those shoulders, feeling this length through the spine. A reminder to my hamstring folks, soft knees, kinder to the back, and helps us lengthen the spine as opposed to trying to find those straight legs. So if you're really feeling it intensely in hamstrings, soften knees, press your heart closer to your thighs. One more breath here. And then we'll come down to knees, rise back up to tabletop. When you're ready, we're going to thread the needle. Let's start with the right hand. So right arm reaches up, dives underneath. We'll rest on the shoulder and ear, deciding where you'd like to go with that opposite arm. So that left arm can reach the top of your mat, can reach towards the ceiling. It can slide behind the back. Deep breathing here, opening up neck and shoulder space, heart and throat chakra. Maybe a little twist through that torso to wring out on that exhale what no longer serves us. One last breath here. We'll slide that left hand in front of the face on your inhale. We open up towards the ceiling, give it a little wave, and hand comes down. Let's switch sides. So left arm reaches, dive through, resting head and shoulder, deciding where you'd like to go with that arm. Safest place for neck stuff is to have a hand either in front of face or reaching towards the top of the mat instead of floating to ceiling or behind the back. Breathing into all of that space you've created. Maybe it's that shoulder blade area, maybe it's rib cage area, maybe you even feel a little bit of space in the neck. One more breath here. We'll slide the hand in front of the face. Go ahead and come on out. Reaching it up towards the ceiling, give that ceiling a little wave. We're going to go ahead and walk our way into standing. So I'm going to tuck my toes. I'm going to walk my hands and feet towards each other, coming towards the front of the mat, and just allowing yourself to roll up as feels natural for you. So it might be an inhale, it might be an exhale. We're going to move through that halfway lift. So we'll bring hands to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach up towards ceiling. Exhale, soft bent knees, diving forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release down. See if you can look through those legs, dropping the head. Inhale, fingertips reach wide as we rise back up. Hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach, maybe adding a tiny back bend. Exhale, diving forward. Placing hands on shins or thighs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide as we inhale, rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees. We'll just do this 2 more times, moving with breath. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down, arms reach wide as I inhale to rise back up. Exhale, hands come to heart last time. Inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft bent knees, dive forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release back down. We're going to plant hands. We'll step, hop, walk, or jump back into our plank. I'm going to ask you to come down to knees for everybody. We're going to rock back and forth. So I send my hips back towards heels and then drawing myself forward, rocking into a version of plank. Let's do it 2 more times. Exhale as we press back. Inhale, drawing forward. Deep pressure on your hands and feet. Rocking in any way inspires relaxation responses in the body. We're going to pause here. I'm going to ask you to keep those toes tucked as you press back into down dog. Now, we might be in child's pose. We might be back down to knees, pressing hips towards heels. We might be on elbows, especially if this bugs wrists, elbows, or shoulders and neck. Fully breathing. Maybe you're moving. Sometimes we walk the dog here where we pedal feet. Maybe you like to shift weight through the hips. Soft knees. 1 more breath. When you're ready, we're going to step your right foot forward. Right foot comes between those hands. For some of us, we drop that knee and swing it around. Once you're here in this low, deep lunge, plant that back foot. We're going to rise up into Warrior One. And so Warrior One means our hips are pointing forward. If you want to add Warrior One arms reach. You can go cactus arms. You can go hands behind the back if that feels better. So we're paying attention here to our core. Could we almost tuck our tailbone to increase the stretch through that back leg? Can we lengthen through our arms without lifting shoulders into ears? Feeling this strong pose. Our legs supporting us, our spine growing long and tall. 1 more breath here. When you're ready, go ahead, bring hands to hips. We're going to shift and lengthen that front leg. So we have both legs long now, and we're going to come just slightly forward. So a little warming up of our core, not necessarily folding forward. Careful, and you'll see this happen a lot with my knee. I'm a hyperextender. I actually have to soften my knee a little bit so I'm not just hanging out in the joint. Hands flying down by your side, still strong legs. If this stance feels way too deep, you can walk your feet closer together. It is a bit of a balance, so that front leg can walk a little further to the outside edge of your mat. That'll help balance. 1 more breath here. We'll bend into the front knee. If you can, we clasp hands behind the back. Now, if that doesn't work, just grab and hold a finger with soft bent elbows. So staying bent in that front knee, hands might be clasped. We're going to go ahead and fold forward. So we might be lengthening through the spine at an angle like we were. There may be a few of you who are able to dip the shoulder in to go into our humble warrior. If you've gotten there, you might reach knuckles towards the ceiling. Any version of this is okay to be doing. So if this feels way too deep, come on up. You've got your torso back at an angle, giving yourself a little bit of core work, a little bit of opening through hips. One more breath. If those knuckles are towards the ceiling, drop into the tailbone. We all rise up. We're going to go ahead, bring hands to heart, and take that big step forward with that back leg. So big step forward, finding that space, give it all a little wiggle, a little movement, and we switch sides. We're going to take a big step back now with our right foot. Woo, sure we are. So hips forward, bending into that front knee, planting that back foot as appropriate for you. We add the arms in our warrior. Maybe they're reaching, maybe cactus, maybe low behind the back. Breathing in and out here. Noticing if there's any tiny movement you could change, tailbone tuck, maybe think about drawing feet closer to each other, longer torso, shoulders melt away, that changes the pose for you. This is how we tune into sensation. We just start to tweak all these little things. Hands slide down, maybe they clasp, or they might be at that low back. We straighten the front leg, and we just shift to this angle. It's okay to let hands fly. That's a little more balancing than hands behind the back. Pushing our knuckles. Getting that stretch through the back of the leg, calf. Sometimes we feel it in that inner thigh. One more breath here. Keeping hands clasped at back, we'll bend into front knee. We move through a version of humble warrior. Maybe we're tilting forward. Perhaps we're resting a little bit lower. Maybe we're getting that shoulder inside that knee. Dropping the head, perhaps reaching knuckles towards the ceiling. Lots and lots of places to go with this. So listen to that body. What messages are you getting? What makes sense for you today? One more breath here. And this time, instead of rising up, we're going to let our hands start to walk towards the floor or our hips. We're going to turn and shift so our toes are all pointing the same way, letting yourself fold forward when you've got yourself arranged. If we're working through some really tight hamstrings, you might be hanging out with elbows right above knees. You might be holding onto ankles. For a few of you, you might be able to go just a little bit deeper because your hips allow. You can send your fingertips to the back edge of your mat. Draw yourself through. Noticing weight in the feet. So shifting weight so that we have some balance. We're not necessarily hanging out with weight in the heels. We've got weight in the balls of the feet. Maybe even with sense those arches. One more breath here. Hands come to the crease of the hips. You can use an exhale to protect back or an inhale to rise up. Go ahead and shift and walk your feet in just until they're about 2 feet apart, comfortable through hips, toes pointing out. Coming into a low squat or a high squat. You're going to see me in a high squat because of that knee cartilage. You might be able to go even lower. Leaving hands at hips for a moment, we're going to work a little bit of balance. Lifting one heel and lowering, lifting the other heel and lowering. So we might continue to alternate, moving through heels. Now I still have my core in, my tailbone tucked. We might want to lift heels off to see if we can balance on the balls of the feet. Slowly adding in our cactus arms, squeezing heart together, heart, back space of the heart, shoulder blades together, and making sure we've got that tailbone tuck, our core and belly pulling towards spine. This is a big one. There's a lot going on here. So we may be building some heat in the system. Let's do one more breath holding here. And when you're ready, heels come down. We straighten arms. We straighten legs, take up some space. Hand comes to heart. We're going to turn those left toes towards the front of your mat. One big step, if you can, forward with both feet landing now about 3 fingers between those big toes. So pausing here, letting hands then travel down by your side, palms either face open or towards thighs, shoulders melting away. To notice, once again, what's present for you. Noticing without judgment if there are thoughts, sensations, feelings. With your next inhale, if your eyes are closed, gently blinking them open, we're going to flow just twice. We'll have lots of options here. So when you're ready, inhale, fingertips reach. Exhale, soft, bent knees, arms reach wide. Let's do our halfway lift. So we press into shins or thighs. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, release down. We reach for the floor. We step, hop, walk, or jump back into our plank. We can go down full chaturanga, shifting towards toes. If you're like me, protecting knees and shoulders, come on down to your knees as we lower down. Inhale, low cobra or up dog. Exhale, pressing back into your version of down dog. So we might be full down dog. We might be shifting weight, just staying on those knees. We might be down on elbows. Fully breathing here. One more breath. If it suits you, we're going to lift the right leg towards the ceiling. It dives right on through. Planting that back foot, we inhale, rise up into our warrior one. As we exhale, let your hands fly, soft bend front knee. Inhale, rise up, warrior one. Lots of options for those arms. Exhale, coming through to fly. One last time, inhale, rise up. Exhale, we come to fly through. Pause there for an inhale. As you exhale, reach for the floor. Step, hop, walk, jump that leg back into your plank. And we get ready to go through our flow, either going down full chaturanga, lowering knees, letting elbows scrape those rib cages. Inhale, low cobra, up dog. Exhale, 3 breaths in your version of down dog. If it suits you, we lift the left leg towards the ceiling. We let it dive right on through. Planting back foot, we rise up into our warrior one. Exhaling as we give that angle forward, hands come to fly down by your side. Inhale, rise up, choosing arms in warrior one. Exhale, hands come to fly. One more time. Excuse me. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, hands come to fly down by your side. Reach for the floor. Step back into plank. This time we come down. We press back into child's pose. Walking hands over to one side. Doesn't matter which side of the mat. Stretching the lateral body. If you're on elbows and knees, your elbows walk over to one side. Walking back through center and then moving to that other side. coming back through center, coming onto our bellies for just a little bit of back bending. Just a reminder, our back bend is really energizing. It's an opportunity maybe to gather some energy for the days ahead. If you like, you can let hands fly down by your side. You can keep a little more support by having your elbows on and arms out in what I call football goal position, or your 90 degrees. So either space, you're going to see me with my hands down by my side. My feet stay on. I let my nose just barely hover, using your mid-back muscles right underneath those shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades. We inhale to lift up, nose looking down at the mat, unless you are used to looking up and have been working towards that. We exhale to lower back down. So my arms are hovering. Inhale. If you're in football goal, you might use a light pressure through the palms. Exhale, lower down. Let's do this 3 more times. Inhale, lift. Exhale. If you're getting pinching in the low back, it's probably because we're lifting too high, or you can tuck your tailbone a little bit to protect that back. Inhale, lift. Exhale one last time. Inhale, lift. I'm going to ask everybody, swing your arms around until your elbows are underneath shoulder blades, if the back will agree to this. They may be further out if the back is saying no, thank you. Palms down. Give your head a little shake. No effort here. So now we're opening the front side of the body, just allowing ourselves to hang out, literally kind of hanging off the ligaments. So I'm not necessarily pushing myself away from the mat. It's more of a yin idea of being still here for a moment to open connective tissue. 2 more breaths is a great one, as always, to hold for 5 minutes. Not today. Join me on Thursday for yin. We'll do it then. When you're ready, let's shift back to stretch the back. So counterbalancing with a child's pose. It could be a wide-kneed child's pose. Again, we might be on elbows, rounding back, dropping head. One more breath here. We're going to rise up to shift into a seated position. Bringing soles of the feet together. So 2 options here, butterfly, soles of the feet together, or for those of us working with hip compression in the front of those thighs, feet wide, soles of the feet on the floor, allowing yourself to fold forward. If you're in butterfly, those feet can be further away. They can be closer to you, just rounding forward. Opening those inner thighs. Finding some release in that low back. No matter where you're at, slowly rising up, extending legs. We're getting ready for a seated twist. So we're going to take this right leg and bend that knee. It might stay there, especially if it makes you kind of lean back. It might hop over. We might be able to bend that bottom knee in. It's, again, going where your hip structure will allow. Taking your left hand, the palm, the elbow, or the outside, just to get it situated to get ready to twist. So when you're ready, inhale, growing a little longer and taller. Exhale, twisting just a little bit deeper, including the gaze. If your head will allow, neck allows, for you to look over that shoulder. Inhaling to grow a little longer and taller. Exhale, twisting further. We go to the space that we are able to go to. We call it often in yoga your edge. And then we pause. We observe. Sometimes there's more release to be gained. Sometimes we have reached that spot where we need to pause and stay. When you're ready, releasing, everybody send your legs nice and long. Give them a little windshield wiper, maybe a little bit of bouncing. We move to the other side. So bending left knee in, it might stay there. It might hop over. Bottom knee might draw in. Right hand this time, palm, elbow, or elbow on the outside and bend to protect that elbow, that joint. Inhale, grow a little taller. Exhale, twist a little bit deeper. Inhaling and exhaling. Going to that space where your body says, that's good, that's enough. Releasing forward, sending legs out and give them a nice little wiggle and a jiggle. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see me. We're going to lean back on our palms and just careful here. We've got fingertips aiming towards the edge, outside edge of your mat rather than behind you. So we're just leaning back with fingertips, straightening legs. Take your right ankle and cross it over the top of the left thigh. We bend that opposite leg in and we go again into the space that makes sense for us. This straight leg or the bending leg is what controls the stretch. You can flex that foot, that right foot, to get a little extra stretch. If you want to get a little tush massage, go ahead and roll over to that right bun cheek and roll on it. We'll roll over some good stuff here that helps loosen up the area. And then we'll return back through center, going to the other side. So stretching legs, crossing left ankle over this time, deciding where you want to draw that right foot into, maybe flexing that left foot. Maybe you roll over to that bun cheek and give it just a little rock and roll. And then we'll come on back through center, stretching legs long. If it makes sense for you to give yourself a little forward fold with a little bit of shoulder shrugging, you might soften knees. We're going to get ready to roll to rest on our back. So bending knees, starting to roll down. And just for a moment, allowing yourself to rest here. Shoulders melting towards the floor, arms are comfortable, knees soft and bent. Give the head a little shake, no. We're going to be moving through an inversion, which for you might be shoulder stand. It might be plow. For most of us, me included, it's going to be bridge. That's a nice, safe way to treat the neck. When you're ready, lifting hip bones up towards the ceiling, letting the weight come between the shoulder blades. If arm length and shoulder build allows, we can clasp hands underneath the buns. If it doesn't, hands just simply stay down by your side, providing some support. Breathing fully here. Weight is in the shoulders, no matter where you're at, between those shoulder blades, not in the back of the head. Now, we may feel pressure in the back of the head, but the majority of our weight is resting in those shoulders. 2 more breaths here. When you're ready, if you're in that bridge, give yourself a little bear hug and start to melt down. For those of you in shoulder stand or plow, coming out as you choose, drawing knees into chest. Maybe it feels good to rock on side to side. Letting hands slide underneath the buns for a little back protection here. Extending your legs towards the ceiling. Once again, straight legs, not important. If they can go straight, flex the toes. Otherwise, soft bent knees, a little reverse of energy to wash and nourish those upper chakras. Fully breathing here. It's a bit of a core builder, so you may feel like you're working a little bit. Bending knees, soles of the feet, come on. If you want to go into fish, join me. Otherwise, hanging out here in constructive rest pose. Letting knees drop towards each other, arms are comfortable. Otherwise, we're going to take those hands. I've got my palms facing down. Excuse me, I'm placing them right underneath my buns, extending my legs, and my big toe mounds touch. Using elbow to press and lift, I gently drop my head back and let it rest right on the crown of my head. Gently resting here. Elbows are holding most of your weight. Heart opener, throat opener. A nice way to undo some of our computer and phone neck issues. One more breath here. We'll nod our chin to gaze down at toes and then coming to rest on that back space of the heart. Hands come out. I always like to give a little bend to the elbow like I'm going to a rock concert to get out of those elbows. Coming into one of actually three choices. We could do constructive rest pose where we're adding those arms in. You might want to do knees into chest, or you might enjoy happy baby. Happy baby, holding on to those feet if possible, but if not, grab hold of ankles. You can grab hold of shins or behind the thighs. A nice psoas relaxation, a stretch for those inner thighs, backs of the thighs. Again, knees into chest. If neither of those appeal, we rest in constructive rest pose with knees together and feet wide. Deeply breathing here, inhaling and exhaling. Three more breaths, no matter where you're at. When you're ready, feet come to the floor, soft bent knees, giving it a nice little rock side to side. We'll go into a twist. So if you're doing twisted roots, it'll be the left thigh on top. If you're just drawing one knee in, it'll be the left knee that draws in. If you're doing stacked knees, join me. We're going to drop knees over to the right side. Arms again are comfortable, resting where you choose or they choose. If you want to add a double twist to the spine, we lift the head, we look over the left shoulder and let the head rest. Gentle breathing here, hopefully not a lot of effort to the breath. Inviting the body now to breathe itself. This final wringing out, we have moved muscle, we have moved energy. We might be ready to release some of that energy with the exhale here in the twist. It's that energy that no longer serves us. When you're ready, bringing gaze back towards the ceiling. Knees draw back in through center. A few moments to rest, relax, wiggle. And moving to the other side, reminding yourself your sides don't have to match. If it is twisted roots, it's your right thigh this time that crosses over, or your right knee that draws in. If you're stacking those knees, they drop over to the left side. Oh, I forgot this part. If you want to add a double twist to your spine, lift the head, look over the right shoulder, and let the head rest. Breathing fully here. Drawing knees and gaze back through center. We're going to be getting ready to move into final relaxation. I'm going to come to a seated position, but I want to invite you to find the space that feels like it brings the most ease into the body. And that can be any space. It doesn't have to look like a yoga pose. Any place that feels like it brings the most ease into the body. If you've cooled down, maybe grabbing socks or a sweatshirt. It's a chilly morning here in Colorado. If you do need to log off and get on with your day, I understand. Try to give yourself at least a couple of minutes resting here before you end up logging off. For those of us who are able to stay, we're going to rest. We'll rest in ease here, and we'll finish off with a little bit of pranayama. So as you're finding this space for yourself, take those settling breaths if they feel settling to you. The deep inhale, the longer exhale. We imagine that exhale settles into the weight of the body. And then we invite the body to breathe itself. The breath traveling as it chooses in a way that it chooses. We invite those longer pauses between thoughts, that quieting of the mind if possible. And for these last few minutes of class, we let go of all of the doing, not only of our class, but of our day. And we invite ourselves to just simply be, to be resting here in ease, perhaps resting in a sense of well-being. Beginning to bring awareness to the sound of my voice, to the space that you're resting in. Inviting that deeper inhale and that longer exhale. And we begin to reawaken the body, maybe wiggling fingers and toes, circling wrists and ankles. It might feel good to stretch arms overhead. It might feel good to draw knees into chest. In your own way and your own time, we're going to begin to bring ourselves up into a seated position that feels comfortable to you. And as you find that comfortable seat, we're going to spend just a little more time in pranayama. We return to how we began class. So I'd like you to remember the number of beats it took you to breathe in. And if you don't recall, we'll find it again. That's okay. But this time, at the beginning of class, I asked you to try to extend it by 1 or 2 breaths. And I'm wondering if you want to play with that interval, if you can now try to extend the exhale by 2 or 3 beats. So once again, for instance, if it took me 4 beats to breathe in, this time I'm going to see if I can extend it to 6 or 7. If at any point, as we're moving through this breath, you feel like you can't catch your breath, that you're out of breath, let go of the pattern. We're sending the body into a different response. It's sending it into an emergency response, and we don't want to do that. So we're just going to play with the breath here at the end of class to see if we can extend it by 2 or 3 beats. Let's do that for about 10 breaths again, about 1.5 minutes for most of us. Breathing in that number of beats that you found, exhaling by 2 or 3 extra beats. One more breath to finish off your pranayama practice. Perhaps taking that clearing breath, breathing in, exhaling out through the mouth, and pausing to notice what's present for you. What's present for you in this moment? Maybe that's in the physical body, the thinking mind, and the feeling body. And if this gesture feels okay to you, we'll place our palms together, resting thumbs right in front of our heart. May all be well. May all have peace. And may we all be filled with compassion and loving kindness. The light in me is honored and grateful for the light in each of you. I bow to you. Namaste. Thank you all. I'm going to come on over. Ooh.